Alright guys, and welcome to this special Amsterdam edition of Below the Bar.
In this episode, expect to find out what we got up to in the red light district, how we fared at the world's largest fitness competition,
And why Guinness is fundamentally overrated.
Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to this is our first episode together. It's not. It's the second one together since our guest, isn't it?
What?
So since our guest, we've had one together. I'm losing track because
we've had
keep
two.
scheduling. Two.
Yeah,
Well,
so we did. So we had Gaz,
Yeah.
and then we had Your Unpopular Opinions, part 1 and 2.
Okay, that's what confused me because you did part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And the fact we've just been scheduling them all over the place now. So this is like the first episode we're now doing that's back on the normal schedule.
Yeah, so we did have a backlog of podcasts, but we've exhausted that now.
Yeah, because we basically just wrapped for the last 2 weeks. That's
Yeah.
So we recorded like 4 within 2 days or something.
And we landed from Amsterdam at 7 this morning. We've been up since 4. It's now 11 a.m. in the morning. In fact, this is the earliest we've ever recorded a podcast, I think.
Yeah, it's certainly the least amount of sleep I've had. So this could be interesting.
Yeah,
Cognitively,
we're already on reserve fuel tank.
Yeah, but I mean we've got something to cover, so that's good. But the sort of saving grace is that next week we're going to try something that hopefully is going to perk us up. We might just have to do the same experiment. So next week we'll stay up and then we'll get up at 4 a.m. again, and then we'll record it at 11 again, and then we'll see if that drink actually does anything.
Yeah, well, you're not naming it in case we got like a court case.
No, just so I can announce it next week. Probably know, but
people probably know. If you're in the space, you probably know what we're on about. If not, then well, just sit tight and you'll find out.
Yeah, we haven't ordered it yet because we're fucking slow off the mark
because we're rap hands,
as we've covered. Yeah, so helmet of the week first. Back into the usual structure.
Helmet of the week. Yeah, and so all of the usual segments this week, obviously given it it's the damn special, are going to be Amsterdam related.
Lovely stuff.
So it's all nice and congruous.
Yeah. So that's the only structure we've got pretty much.
Yeah, so I don't I don't actually have any notes for the first time ever, so that's going to end well.
Yeah, and I never have notes. That's no change for me there. So helmet of the week is it's actually a repeat offender.
I think we did already do this one, but they deserve their airtime because they're cunts.
I think this is the first repeat offender.
Yeah, it is. He's double badged. Two tours of Afghan.
Right, bit like you that. Yeah. So helmet of the week this week is airport security, specifically British airport security. And this was just highlighted on the way there when we got stopped for an unnecessary 45 minutes.
Going through airport security at a British airport has to be one of the most soul-destroying experiences on planet Earth.
So I will say, when I travelled by myself last week, it was fine because it's just me, and if you get through, that's fine. But if there's like 2 or 3 of you, because you've got to wait for everyone, someone inevitably is going to get stopped.
Someone's going to get pinged for fuck all.
It's always fuck all.
And you know what, right? I actually know people that have actually accidentally taken like drugs or knives or something through airport security and have gotten away with it. But then people like me, stalwart of the local community, always get pinged.
Heroes.
Yeah.
Always get pinged, and you don't get the respect you deserve.
I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, we were going through, and Eddie's bag goes over to the other side, the dark side, and they're just such a power trip. But I mean, they don't like order anyway. Like you're about 4th in the queue, and for some reason they went fucking behind you, and then came back to the front. It was like they were just avoiding your bag at all costs.
Yeah, I think we've previously addressed the kind of mindset that it takes to work in like border control or airport security. You basically have to have a massive chip on your shoulder, and you have to hate your own existence. They're the 2 precursors. They're the opening 2 questions in an interview for that job. Are you bitter and jaded, and do you want to ruin people's day? You're in.
You're in, yeah. So this was exemplified when you were sat comfortably.
Yeah, so usefully, right, what they do is they'll confiscate your bag and then make you wait there like a theatre for the poor before they then search it.
With nothing to do or nowhere to sit.
Yeah, well, that's the key point. They don't provide any seating. So
you took matters into your own hands, didn't you?
Yeah, so me, being the creative that I am, decided to repurpose a table as a seat.
It's not really a table. It's kind of like seat height, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a high ledge.
It's a hybrid between a seat and a table.
Yeah, anyway, this ledge is obviously designed for you to put your bag on, not your arse. And my friend, Mr. Airport Security, didn't take too kindly to my repurposing of his ledge.
MR.
Yeah.
We'll call him for.
We'll call him MR.
But yeah, so he could have just said, mate, can you not sit on that ledge? We've got a kind of rule or whatever. But he decided to take the passive aggressive approach, didn't he?
Yeah. Just role play. You can act as MR.
Yeah, so I mean, picture the scene. Eddie's just sat comfortably, minding his own business. We're chatting away, probably, calling everyone cunts like we normally are. But yeah, so MR pipes up. Comfortable up there, are you, mate?
Yeah, I am.
Can you get down, please?
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? So in his head there, he's had his Hollywood moment, and I've shat myself and immediately got down. And instead, I just have told him I am comfy, which is why I'm sat there. Funnily enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a weird way to go about that interaction, isn't it? Because you don't really need to be, because nothing's happened up to that point. You haven't had a run in with him before. You don't really need to be that aggressive. So he could have just said, "Mate, can you get down?" And that'd have been sweet.
And nowhere does it actually say you can't sit on that ledge.
No, that's just his kind of making that up.
So everything else in the airport is signposted.
Yeah.
So
true. And then
you're that against it, mate. Put a sign up your hat.
You probably will now, mate. Mate, matters worse. When they actually went through your bag, the issue, right? What was the issue? The issue was
the C4 pre-workout that I decided to bring for a High Rocks.
Oh yeah, we didn't use. Yeah. So you bag up the liquids obviously in a clear plastic bag. You'd left 2 bits that weren't bagged up. God forbid.
Yeah. So there were two discrepancies, effectively, that I'd fallen foul of in their eyes. So the first one being the aforementioned C4 pre-workout, which, granted, isn't the best name for a pre-workout that you're going to take through airport security.
Yeah, they've not thought that through, really, have they?
No.
So you've got C4 in your bag. That's good, isn't it?
Which you then pointed out and he didn't find funny.
He didn't. No, he didn't. Yeah.
And then the second one, like Shep just said, was you're obviously supposed to have those kind of disposable clear plastic bags for your toiletries. I actually just have a clear toiletry bag that's zip up. So I'm trying to save the planet.
That's not good enough.
And he didn't like that.
No.
So what he did is he took my toiletries out of my clear, reusable toiletry bag, tried to put them in one of the disposable ones, and then couldn't fit them, which is why I have them in a bigger toiletry bag.
Yeah, and then he went, mate, you're going to have to throw this away because it can't fit in the bag. I went, can you not use another bag?
And he went, nah, mate.
That was like a crazy suggestion.
Yeah. Nah, mate, it's one bag per person. One bag per person. So then you, to be fair, quick thinking, went, well, can I just not put some of his toiletries in my bag? And he went, yeah, mate, if they'll fit.
Yeah.
So then he proceeded to evenly distribute the toiletry bags and then put them in the same tray. So I've still got 2 bags.
Yeah, so his aforementioned rule of you can only have 1 bag per person was now 2 bags per 1 tray, and that was now going back through. So ideally, if that was an actual rule, that was recognised, that would have been flagged up again, but it wasn't.
Yeah. Basically, the overarching lesson here is basically there are no hard and fast rules at airport security. These power-hungry saddos basically make up the rules as they go along, as and when they see fit.
And we can compare this to Schiphol Airport that we went through this morning, which was, I'll say, a sensational experience.
It was actually a very pleasant experience, to say that you've basically been screened for potentially being a terrorist or an airport threat.
Pretty much no queue. Everyone's like, bear in mind it's 5 a.m. Everyone's got a smile on their face. Everyone's fucking welcoming. That's fundamental. And when you go, you don't have to take anything out of your bag because they've got these techie fucking scanners. So you put your bag in, and mine got flagged, didn't it? But it took about 2 minutes.
Yeah, he was proper sound about it as well.
He goes, it was this, mate. And I was like, sweet. That was it.
Happy days. They're like piping whale music through the speakers. It's all calm. You could be airport security. Could be a bit of yoga retreat.
Yeah, you never know. And the other discrepancy that I found, I mean, it's quite surface level, this, and bear with me, but the staff in Birmingham were of a certain ilk.
How can we word this in a politically correct manner?
That's not my strong suit.
No. Basically, they're fat and ugly.
Yeah, like that.
You've got to call sometimes you've got to call a spade a spade.
You can't box around it, can you? And then
I think this feeds into our theory that they have to be bitter and jaded, because if you looked gopping,
you would be bitter and jaded.
You would be bitter and jaded, because if you've rapped on your own appearance, then you're certainly going to rap on your customer service, aren't you?
Yeah, that's fair enough. And anyway, to contrast this, in Schiphol Airport, they're good looking. Most of them.
Yeah, they're a 10 out of 10 stunner.
They did have one, yeah. Stuck out like a sore thumb. But anyway, so I think that's a big difference. But so we'll move on from helmet of the week.
It's funny because we're going abroad again in a month, so I can only imagine that airport security is going to come up again. And
They'll clock up again.
And then in January we're going through American airport security.
Oh, that's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to lose my head. If the podcasts dry up in January, it's because I've been detained by TSA or whatever they're called, and I'm actually in Guantanamo being waterboarded.
It'd be a good roundup episode after that, though, wouldn't it?
For sarcastically in what's the? I've lost my head.
What? Intimidating. Imitating?
Imitating a
That's
terrorist.
There we go.
That's it.
We got there in the end. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's helmet of the week. It's the second time.
Again.
They're probably on for the hat trick now, so can only imagine.
Probably got to give it him just because. Anyway, let's move on. So the topic of today's episode, as the title and intro will suggest, is kind of trip to Amsterdam this weekend, which included a few different elements.
Yeah, so there's a few different sections to break up here, isn't there? Because if we
Indeed.
just try and ramble through it, it will be even more of a mess than that segment was.
Yeah, and that was a bit of a mess. So if we go through it chronologically, I think that's probably the best way.
Well, I think we should break it up into high rocks and then kind of
After High Rock.
after high, yeah, like
Well, that, funny enough, is chronologically.
BHAH.
Yeah, before Christ, after Christ.
So let's box high rocks off first, because that's probably the more information-heavy section of the podcast.
Yeah, so should we start with what it is, I guess?
Have we covered that before?
I think so. I don't know. Maybe, probably.
I think we have made the distinction in the CrossFit debate episode. If you've not seen that, that was one of the early ones.
Yeah, that was a good one. That.
Go back and watch that if you haven't already.
Yeah. So effectively, it's a fitness competition where you can either do individuals or you can do pairs. We did pairs. It's always the same workout. So it's like 8 kilometers of running, broken up each kilometer with a different functional fitness station. Functional fitness in inverted commas because it's a bit of a wanky word. But
yeah, so it's 8 kilometers of running punctuated with 8 different functional fitness exercise stations. It's supposedly kind of marketed as like a functional fitness event, but it's more a test of your ability to be good at compromise running effectively.
Well, it's not. It's marketed as like the test of fitness or the the fitness race of whatever.
But it's not. It's your ability to be a Zone 4 hat. And you
ability
know
to,
how I feel about Zone 4 hats.
It's your ability to run and then do a little bit of stuff in between. If you can get through the stations without absolutely dying, but you're a good runner, you'll be good at high rocks.
Yeah, basically you'd be a good runner.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's not a hybrid event.
No, but there are like those stations. A couple of them. If you weren't at a certain level of strength, you would just stop.
True, but the way like we did it in 1 hour 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and 40 minutes of that was running.
Yeah, that's mental.
So even if you didn't have kind of maybe the requisite strength to do like the sled pull or the sled push quickly, because it's so running heavy, if you were a good runner, you'd still compensate for that with quick kilometre runs.
Yeah, well, you'd make up for it. Like,
so say if you lost half an hour on the sleds, no, not half an hour, sorry, like 30 seconds, half a minute on the sleds, but you're still doing like 4:20, 4:15 kilometres.
True, yeah.
You'd easily make that up, yeah.
That's true. If you lost even if you lost half a minute on every station, that's what 8 minutes, half a minute, 4 minutes. That's fuck all.
Yeah, that's what I mean, because it's so running centric,
so skewed towards running. I think what they've done is, well, they've attempted to make it accessible, haven't they, to everyone, and that's their kind of tagline is anyone could do it, and that's true. However, it's definitely not a balanced and even test. We did hold our own, I think.
Yeah, we did say that we went in there with kind of not well. To be fair, we did prep for it, but like it wasn't
not specifically though.
Not specifically, really. No. We try and keep as many irons in the fire as possible, don't we?
Yeah. So like we were doing high rocks prep, but we were still squatting heavy every week. We were still doing all the rest of it. So it's not really high rocks prep, is it?
No. And also we didn't really do we didn't squat up on like the rules or like little hacks. We basically just turned it with an open mind, and we just wanted to see what it was about.
Follow the leader.
Yeah, it was good, to be fair.
Good event. Very good event.
It was good. I'd do another one. It's stinking at the time, but on reflection, it was enjoyable.
It is enjoyable. The only thing I'd say is it's just a lot of running around in circles.
Yeah, I certainly probably wouldn't want to do a singles one.
No, that would be stinking.
Because then you would be on your own.
Well, you'd be fucked as well.
It's a lot of graft to do on your own.
So this is the distinction as well. So the doubles we did, to be fair, the stations aren't that hard because you share the work and the weight's lighter, which doesn't make any sense. But the weight's lighter. The individual pro would be stinking. Like you're doing a full kilometre ski and then fucking off again, and then a full kilometre row and then off again, and then you've got to the sled's heavier, the farmer's walk's heavier, the wall ball's heavier. Like it's all that's horrendous.
Yeah, and it's not even like you're running a race, like a marathon or something. You can just put your AirPods in and zone out because you need to be in comms with people. Because there are judges at every station guiding you and shit.
You got to switch on.
You got to be switched on. So it's not like you can just put a podcast or music and zone out. Like you're just left with your own thoughts. Yeah, for the entirety of the race, basically.
You've got to kind of immerse yourself in the atmosphere of the event. I find because that can almost be the substitute for your AirPods or your audiobook or whatever. Because if you can try and, I don't know, use that as a distraction or use the energy of fucking people watching you, people cheering you on to take you through, and that's fine. I don't feel like I would have wanted AirPods, and I said the same about London Marathon. Anything like that where it's well attended and it's well cheered on, all that kind of thing. I like to just be there and not have headphones. I think it takes away from the experience.
I agree with the London Marathon one because that is very unique. High Rocks, I probably would have preferred to have AirPods in.
Maybe. I don't know. I think for doubles, it's probably not that bad because, again, you're sharing stuff. And
No, I mean, if I was to do it as an individual, I'd definitely want AirPods.
Yeah, individual would be fucking horrendous. I'd probably have to do one at one point. That'd take some training. I'd want a decent showing. That'd take a lot.
I'd only ever do doubles.
Yeah,
fuck that. That stink. There's way too much running and fizz to do on your own. That gopping.
Way too much fizz. So yeah, like for us in terms of like our strong points, I think like obviously the running's the one that we could have improved on, but that's just because we're heavier than most people. I think the sleds everything really felt heavier than it normally does.
Apart from the wall balls.
The wall ball felt so easy.
Can't quite square that away in my mind why that's still a thing, to be honest. They need to adjust that.
It's literally just 100 air squats. It's fuck all.
And it's the last station as well, so it doesn't really make any sense because it's like, surely you'd punctuate that. You'd use that to punctuate the actual whole event by putting it in the middle or something to give people a bit of respite.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because aren't the two sleds back to back?
Yeah.
So that makes no sense either. Separate them a bit.
Well, they're a different movement. They're massively like. In terms of like physiologically what you're getting from it, they are massively.
I know, but it just doesn't like you've just been on the sled like mentally. Give me
something else. They're not trying to make it easy, lad. That's not the idea.
No, it would make it more engaging. It's within their interest. They're the ones that supposedly call it like the best fitness event going or whatever.
Well, they're trying to make it like best from like a balanced phys point of view, and they haven't struck that balance. But that's what they're trying to do, I think. And the 100 wall balls at 9 kilos would be horrendous. So it's just like you can't change the order just because it's lighter.
I think you should make the wall balls heavier and take some weight off the sled.
Then it'd be even more of like a endurance event. There'd be nothing strength wise. If the sled was lighter, there'd be fuck all because it'd just be a cardio event then.
But it is a cardio event because sleds are like part strength, part conditioning, aren't they? As an exercise.
Yeah, but if you weren't strong, you couldn't do it.
Yeah, but we said you can still do it because even if you lost like 30 seconds or a minute on the sleds, if you were just a spindle pin,
you sometimes wouldn't be able to move the sled. Like that wouldn't move.
Yeah, but you could move it. Like
you could, yeah, because you're strong. But if you just ran, you have no strength in the legs. There's no way.
As a grown man would still be able to move it, even if it took them ages, and then they'd still make it up by sending the runs.
Maybe. Yeah, obviously it's heavily skewed. So, for example, we ran, like you said, for 40 minutes, and the longest other station we did was 4 minutes. So it's a tenth, isn't it? It's mental.
I think Athex is a more balanced event and a better measure.
100%.
And a better measure of actual hybrid performance.
It is, but that's only doubles. When they bring out an individual one, I would agree. But and the High Rocks and CrossFit are like they're both too niche, I think. It's like CrossFit, you have to be good at CrossFit WODs, which is not really transferable. High Rocks, you have to be just really good at running, which isn't really anything to do with strength. So CrossFit's like, so they're both a little bit too niche, I think, for their own good. Athex strikes a good balance in between. When we were talking about this, when we were Athex, you've got to so for the pro, you've got to do a front squat, a shoulder to overhead, and pull ups. That's your strength bit. So front squat's like obviously lower body strength and mobility, overhead strength and mobility again, and then body weight relative strength. So all of those are good, and then you've got the middle bit, which is conditioning, which is all aerobic, and then you're fucking explosive a little bit in the end.
So in Athex, you still run 5k. So you're only running.
One partner does.
Yeah, but
really.
you're only running like 3k less than High Rocks, but like psychologically, it feels like there's so much less running involved.
Because it's all concentrated in one place.
Yeah, I like that.
When we'd done 3 stations, I was saying to you, 5k left, but fucking 5k felt like forever, didn't it?
Yeah.
But I think there wasn't anything. I was actually not worried, but I was like concerned that I thought after some of the stations, like the leggier ones, like the lunges and the sleds, I thought my running's just gonna be fucked. There's no way. But actually didn't really affected maybe the first 150 metres and then you're fine.
It's far too much running. I mean, we're going around in circles here. Basically, High Rocks is good, but don't expect it to be a kind of accurate representation of how much of a hybrid athlete you are, because it's basically going to be a measure of how good you are at running.
Well, yeah, it's not hybrid because it's not endurance or strength. It's kind of in the middle, because if you're training for High Rocks, you're training for a specific thing, whereas hybrid training is disparate in disparate disciplines, isn't it? You have to train endurance and all-out strength. Really, that's proper hybrid stuff. But I think as an accessible, enjoyable fitness event, High Rocks is pretty good, and it's well run. Like you get your photos quickly. You kind of, it's pretty good in terms of investment and stuff, because wasn't that expensive for us, but I think the English ones are, and they obviously make loads of money off it. But I think they invest a fair bit back in.
Yeah,
which
well,
is
you'd
important.
expect them to, because they've got fucking deep pockets.
Yeah, well, I mean the Netherlands one, which we did, which was like the only one I've seen under £100 each. That's why I chose it. It was fucking 99 quid a ticket. It's pretty good. Most of them are almost double that. I think Birmingham was like 180 each.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad we did the Amsterdam one. It's a bit of a false economy if you chose that one because it was cheapest, because we then had to go to Amsterdam.
Yeah, but then you got an Amsterdam trip out of it.
Yeah, I know, but like it doesn't really wash if you said it's cheapest.
But we could have done the Malmo one in fucking, where's that?
Yeah, we used to fucking Sweden.
Well, you could have done that one. That would have been more for the actual ticket, and you've had to go to Sweden.
Yeah, but no one does that. No one wants to go.
Do.
No one grows up wanting to go to Malmo, lad.
Well, true. I don't know.
No one even knows where Malmo is.
No, I didn't until High Rocks was there.
Yeah, I only know because I'm a geography nose.
Yeah. Well, that's.
You won't want to do it there anyway. They're all fucking 7'8" Swedish blokes.
We said that about the Dutch blokes.
Yeah, they were.
Well, yeah. It's also weird because you get set off in like waves, don't you? So you have no idea where you are at all. Like it's not like you have a heat and you know, oh fucking hell, I'm like 4th, 3rd, whatever.
I like that though. But you probably
weird,
didn't like that because you couldn't create like an arbitrary competition.
I still did.
Right.
I was still like running behind people. Like, okay, I'll stay behind them and then I'll pass them, whatever.
Yeah.
I always do that. It's just a bit of motivation.
Yeah.
It takes my mind off the fucking running. Cause you're running around literally running around in circles. It's mental.
Yeah, I just zoned out.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I always do. It's because of my happy place.
It's mental. That. I don't know how you do that.
Well, I'm just doing the same as you. I just don't need to bring someone else into it. I just go to my happy place.
Yeah, but then you're not concentrating, so you miss things. I'm like hyper focusing on the actual thing that I'm doing, and that's what gets me. I kind of through it, I guess. But and it's the same as like on the marathon when I hung out. I was like hyper focusing on the pace I was doing, the pace I was trying to hold, and how I was feeling. Like that's how I kind of manage things, because I have to stay engaged with it. I can't just, because if I mentally go to my happy place, then I physically will wrap, because I won't be like holding myself accountable. You know
I just put it on autopilot and bring the shutters down. That's all I'd equate it to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I understand what you're doing, but I think in a competition space, it's not very helpful. Because
we've gone over this though. Like, I can't be arsed with competitions, can I?
No. That's just so weird.
Too enlightened for that.
Right. That's good, isn't it?
It's a bit
too enlightened to push yourself.
A bit primitive, isn't it, to compare yourself to other people?
Everything's primitive, lad.
I compare myself to myself because I'm the best, so why try harder?
And you lose every time. Yeah, everything we do is primitive, lad. So you got to lean into that a little bit.
Mm.
Lean into your primitive urges.
I tread my own path.
Yeah, right. Apart from the
I go off the beaten track.
yeah. Intrusive thoughts. Then.
You're getting a lot of intrusive thoughts
It's
recently.
a sleep dep.
Yeah,
I
Shep's sleep deprived.
Nice.
And I'm sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And you can probably tell that.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah, we both are. We fucking got up at 4 a.m. Stupid.
Yeah, anyway, we need to up the energy in here because it's getting a bit flat now. Probably lost half the listeners because
That's good.
chewing your ear off.
So what's next?
So let's move on to the fun part of the weekend.
Yeah.
Eddie
likes to pretend he doesn't enjoy fitness, but that's just him kind of trying to be cool.
I don't like talking about fitness.
Yeah,
He does get it. I know this. I've started a fitness podcast with you, which is good. But
Yeah.
Realistically, it's a fitness podcast.
It's not really though. We haven't done
In name only. Isn't
we
it?
haven't really done an episode on fitness.
No, and I
Well,
like that.
CrossFit, but yeah.
This is just an outlet for me to gob off.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
can tell.
And I'm all for that.
Yeah. Right, next then. We obviously finished and needed to scran immediately, so we went and sort out some of that. We had a bit of a plan of action, didn't we? We were like, I'm going to finish, going to get food, and then we had to go shopping because your fucking jeans ripped. And then we were out, and that was us then.
Yeah, so we'd actually. So the whole point of the weekend was to do High Rocks in Amsterdam, and by Saturday morning, Saturday morning at 9 a.m, we'd actually done High Rocks.
That was
we were,
class.
We were out the convention centre, and then we had all of Saturday and all of Sunday to enjoy Amsterdam.
That was really. It felt like ages as well.
Yeah, it was a full weekend. So if we'd just gone there as tourists, we probably wouldn't have woken up on the Saturday morning until 9 anyway.
No chance, yeah. And that's. When did we get there? We got there at like
Friday afternoon.
Yeah, like 3 o'clock. So we had a good amount of time.
Solid weekend that.
Amsterdam.
We
That's
got
really
we
good.
got a lot of bang for our buck in that regard.
Yeah, and that is another good point about those High Rocks or Athletics events. They're fucking over like in an hour. It's insane. Compared to CrossFit, it's all day. If that was a CrossFit event, you'd have gone at 7 and you'd have finished at 3:30.
Yeah,
And then
I'd still have nothing to show for it, so I'd rather just do it in an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And you'd physically be probably more fucked.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't bode well for the rest of the day. So we had from like you say 9 till just enjoy the rest of the weekend in Dam.
Yeah. So where are we going to start with Amsterdam then? Because there's a few obviouses that need to be addressed.
Yeah, well, there's many, but
should we outline what we did first, and then we'll deconstruct what other people do in Amsterdam?
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, well, that's probably a good way to do it.
So we basically so Saturday was the allocated send day, and then we were going to do more wholesome stuff on Sunday, and we stuck to that plan.
Yeah, we didn't even send it that hard, really.
No, well, the intention was to send it that hard, but then circumstances dictated otherwise, effectively.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we were out till probably 1ish.
Yeah, 1 a.m. So we basically just did a pub crawl around Amsterdam, which is very nice.
It was really good, to be fair. Yeah, so like obviously where our place was, we were about 10, 15 minute walk from the red light district, so like the main bit. So we just basically pub crawled our way in, effectively. So we went to like an Irish bar, did some bit, and that was we need to start with that. To be fair, there's a lot of individuals to call out in this Irish bar.
Yeah,
the first time we went there, it was fucking.
Yeah,
because that Irish bar had so much potential. As we found out yesterday, had so much potential. Because we went back yesterday.
I don't want this to come across as sectarian,
but it probably will.
But fundamentally, I can't get on board with people who try too hard to be Celtic.
And by that we mean support Celtic.
Yeah. Yeah, people that pretend to support Celtic Football Club are kidding themselves, really, aren't they? Because they're shit.
Particularly in English people.
Irish people who think that they feel compelled to support Celtic just because they've got Celtic roots.
Yeah, support Liverpool.
Support Liverpool, because Liverpool's capital of Ireland anyway.
And they're better, right? It's the same as when a English person fanatically supports like an NFL team. That's bollocks.
Yeah.
And you know they're just doing it to be edgy and cool.
Yeah, but there's nothing edgy and cool about Celtic, is there?
There isn't about NFL either.
To be fair, it's just as much of an ick when people that are proper, like, staunch monarchists support Rangers.
Yeah,
they're both as bad at each other, because fundamentally both teams are shit.
Well, we were talking about this when we were there, because we had a bee in our bonnet about it, as you can imagine. Both of those teams that have topped the SPL for fucking forever, basically. Celtic and Rangers would not get into the fucking Premier League, or would be like a yo-yo team
Yeah, so I'd love to see this. I'd love to see the amalgamation
of the.
of the the Scottish Football League with the English Football League, because
Yeah.
they've done it with Wales, haven't they?
Well, yeah, I said that, like Wrexham and that are fucking. Is that even in Wales? Yeah.
Yeah. Just.
But Wrexham's in the English Football League.
So
But like,
financially, surely all of those Scottish teams would be far better off being converged with the English Football League because there's more money in it.
and think of the scraps.
But they'll never do it, lad, because of ego. Because they know that if they were blended together, Celtic and Rangers would sit in the middle of the Championship.
Well, ultimately, they know if they came across a prime City team,
Oh,
get
that's a bloodbath.
torn to shreds, mate. Imagine that. Fucking Philly Foden running absolute rings around them. I can't even
Yeah.
name what they play. But anyway.
But anyway, we got to be in our bonnet about Celtic because we're in an Irish bar in Amsterdam, and we thought, I spent all of High Rocks picturing this fucking Guinness, this first pint of Guinness. First time I drank in 2 months.
Oh, yeah, we've got to cover that as well.
Yeah, so it's the first drink I had in 2 months. I've been dreaming of this creamy Guinness all morning. And we get in the Irish bar, and they turn the tunes off as soon as we get in there to put the fucking Celtic game on the big screen. And not only is it not on terrestrial, like normal kind of sports channels because it's so shit. So we're watching the Celtic game on Celtic Fan TV or whatever it is with the shit in-house commentary.
Yeah, which is, it hasn't even got good audio. Like, this podcast has better audio than
Yeah,
that.
no, genuine. It sounded like we were... It was like we were watching the game on the screen, but we were listening to the radio commentary.
The radio was like slightly off tune.
Yeah.
Because it was like a bit crackly.
And from the 1950s.
Yeah, and so we went in there expecting like Irish folk music, which is fantastic, and didn't get delivered on basically. So we had one Guinness in there, and then we're like, well,
And promptly fucked off.
yeah, we're moving on here. So did we find another Irish bar, or was it another? Was it? I don't know where we went from there.
I'll be honest. It's
That's
hard
a bit of a blur,
it's
isn't it?
hard to distinguish what is an Irish bar and what isn't an Irish bar sometimes.
In Amsterdam, they're fucking everywhere, though, aren't they?
Because anything that's basically like a tiny bit kind of anglicised in Amsterdam could pass as an Irish bar.
Well, we had the Newcastle. That was a English bar, really.
The Newcastle, but spelt as two separate words, as in a brand Newcastle.
That's great, isn't it?
We probably couldn't call it Newcastle for legal reasons.
Yeah, so we basically just did a bit of a bar crawl, but we were in search of the football, weren't we? The Newcastle Arsenal game,
Which was the late kick-off, yeah. And we did find it, in fairness, and I'm glad we did, because Arsenal lost, so I was very happy with that.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. So bringing us on to some more individuals that we need now to cover.
Certain individuals who need to be addressed.
Yeah,
And in fact, we've talked about Arsenal fans before on the podcast.
We have, but now we've seen them in the flesh.
Yeah, I try, if I can in life, to avoid Arsenal fans in the flesh, even though I am close friends with one from school.
Yeah, I mean, we keep our distance.
But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's my token Arsenal fan friend.
He's you like ticket into the community, isn't he?
Yeah,
So yeah,
and one's enough.
one is enough. So we were sat in this fucking bar. Obviously, we're neutrals, but quietly supporting the northern team.
Well, you support the underdog, don't you?
Yeah, I don't know whether these class that as the underdog at the moment.
Not at the moment, but historically, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, you can obviously 100% tell who's in there fanatically supporting Arsenal, and he stood next to us, and it was you can deconstruct his well, first of all, his outfit.
This isn't necessarily applicable just to Arsenal fans. It's grown men that get too invested in football are an ick, aren't they?
Football results, yeah. If you allow a football result to ruin your entire week, you need to have a word with yourself.
So these blokes are on holiday in Amsterdam, like we are. But the difference is, we're having a good time and watching the football just for a laugh. It's pure entertainment, which is what it is. These blokes are watching it like their entire life depends on it.
They're watching it like they're literally part of the team.
Yeah, he's wincing when there's a misplaced pass.
Yeah,
in the middle of the park.
He's so fucking invested.
He's like
in
head in hands when someone miscontrols the ball.
Yeah, I can't.
How are you on the edge of your seat like that, bro?
Because it was a shit game as well. I don't know how you're so invested. It was fucking terrible. And also, he's now because they'd lost eventually. He's now going about his holiday in Amsterdam, threaders, because he's allowed the fucking result of the football to basically just curb his mood for the fucking weekend, which is mental.
And he's made a rod for his own back as well, because he sat in the Newcastle bar I don't know why he thought that was going to
Yeah.
be appropriate, and because he's made it so obvious through like
Gestures.
being vocal and he's gesturing that he supports Arsenal. He's just made a rod for his own back because all the other fans in there who were supporting Newcastle are
With your hoodies.
just goading him.
Yeah, well, this is it. Obviously, he went in there because he was uber confident that they'd beat him.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
So he had to swallow humble pie, didn't he? Really, there effectively.
Yeah, and that was a good moment for me, which is where we go to next.
I love that because we'd reached like just the right blood alcohol level where we were feeling quite mischievous then. So as soon as we caught wind of the fact he was an Arsenal fan, we joined in and goaded him.
Or we
didn't
started to act up a little bit, like so. For example, when that was the wires. When Arsenal would do something well, even though we don't support Arsenal, we would vocally cheer and gesticulate. And then and then when Arsenal did something poorly, we would do the same but in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It was my favourite thing to do when I used to play football. Like someone would miscontrol the pass or do a shit pass. Like, yeah, nice pass, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, Arsenal are shit. I could never support Arsenal. Right in the blokes here.
Yeah. But Arsenal fans are wankers, aren't they?
Yeah, and they all touch kids.
Right.
Yeah, so that's him. And then what happened? It is a bit of a blur, isn't it? Because like you said, we weren't that pissed, but because you're kind of drinking all day.
It does just blur into one. We did spend a lot of time in that one bar where we went first for a bit and then...
The Black Tiger Bar. This is where we devised a new game, actually. We need to cover this now.
Yeah, we can cover this. If you're a certain level of enlightened, you're in Amsterdam, you can play this as well.
Yeah, so obviously, like we all know what the red light district's famous for, and I have no interest in it. But what I do have interest in is watching other blokes who have an interest in it.
clientele.
Yeah, I like watching other people who like it.
So I'm a big fan of people watching. And we discussed prior to our kind of views on the old prostitution. Yeah, we may as well call it what it is. But it's very strange to be in that environment, isn't it?
It's so weird,
so normalised.
but it's obviously very normalised for them, as in like the prostitutes themselves.
Yeah.
But for us, it was weird.
Well, it's so strange because basically when men get given what they want, it's ugly.
Well, the world goes to shit, doesn't it? Really. Men, but if you can take anything from this, it's that High Rocks is good and that men shouldn't be given what they want.
Yeah, there's two little taglines. They can be the title.
The two learning outcomes of this podcast are that.
Yeah, and so the red light district is purely men getting given what they want, which is because there's no fucking blokes in there like with a rod on goading birds in. It's all like fit girls with massive tits knocking on the windows.
Yeah.
It's mental.
But anyway, this is the game we devised. So if you've been to the red light district, it's called the Black Tiger Bar, and it perfectly overlooks like 10 windows on the other side of the canal.
Yeah, something like that.
So we've plonked ourselves in the window of this bar, overlooking the windows on the opposite side of the canal.
There's a bit of a recce position.
Playing the red light game.
Yeah.
And what this is you basically put your money on who's going to get the next bloke in, and then you take bets. So it's just two stages.
Two-pronged attack.
There's two stages this game. I urge you to do it. So you take bets on who's going to get the next fella in, and then once he's in there, you take bets on how long he's going to last.
Yeah, and we actually discovered something quite interesting doing this, didn't we? So like when we were timing them going in, well, we discovered two interesting things actually. You would imagine, right, that it's quite a common thing for them to score, effectively. But even some of the better looking ones, because there are some goppers. Even some of the better looking ones, their hit rate isn't that good.
It's really not, because
like 1 hour or something.
Yeah, so we didn't spend all of our evening doing this. We're not complete perverts, but I don't know. We gave it a good hour, didn't we?
Well, we just sat there, but like obviously you can see when someone stumbles in.
And in this huddle of like 10 windows, I think what was there like 4 blokes bagging off?
Maybe, yeah.
If that, 3, and like across like 10 women in an hour.
Someone can crunch the numbers on.
Crunch the numbers there, but it's not a great conversion rate that, and they were turning blokes away, which again was kind of a myth that was busted in my mind. Because it turns out that they do reject a lot of blokes. I don't know whether that's because...
It must be just because they're too pissed, or they're a bit aggressive, or anything like that. You know, any sort of...
Yeah, I don't know what the screening process is.
Yeah, any combat indicator that they might be up to no good.
I don't know what the screening process is, but what I'm trying to say is a lot more rigorous than I thought it was.
Yeah, well, they have like a little application form you fill in, and you send it off, and you get type form back. No, but effectively, it's quite interesting because, yeah, about like say, 3 or 4 off 10 windows that were occupied in about 40 minutes is not. I was expecting people to be rolling in and out like a fucking production line.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like a fucking. Yeah, like you said, like a conveyor belt of snatch.
Yeah, and it wasn't. And the other thing is, we actually found a kind of a median time that everyone would last.
It was weird, wasn't it? It's they were all within like 10 seconds of each other.
Yeah,
What was it like? 12 minutes.
13.
13 minutes. Like, so one was like 13 bang on, another one was like 13:10, and the other one was like 13:20.
So you got to think like this is all the time from getting into the window, agreeing the deal, closing the deal, if you will.
Well, I assume that
the exchange of cash.
They've already agreed on a price, haven't they?
I guess so.
They agree on a price before they let them in, I think.
I don't know.
And then obviously it's then the cash. So the admin, like the administration, is the money changing hands, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, the bookkeeping. So like money changing hands, and then obviously the D kit.
But so like, how are they also consistent in timing?
They must have a little rule. They must have crunched the numbers and think what's feasible.
But are they so good at bagging off that they can like manipulate a man's phallus in such a way that they can make him reach orgasm at a set point and timing?
They have like an EMOM clock on.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Halfway there, better speed it up. I don't know, maybe just that is the average time, because the average time is like 5 to 9 minutes.
Is it?
Of a bag off.
Really? That works about right then, because if you take into account like 5 minutes of administration, like either side.
Yeah, because you've got a
couple of minutes either side, call it 5 minutes altogether. Then you've got the bag off. That's about 13 minutes.
There you go. So it rings true to the statistics, but it's just quite interesting that it was congruent with kind of 3 or 4 people, and these were quite different blokes, quite different clientele.
Yeah, all different kind of shapes, sizes, walks of life.
You can never predict it.
The local bloke was funny though.
Straight in.
You can tell he was Dutch because he was about 7 foot. He had to like stoop to get into the window. But like he was obviously like a regular.
Well, he came in, didn't even look at anyone else, knew exactly which window he was going to.
He walked into her fucking grot like it was his front door.
Yeah, like he owned it.
Yeah, and she was like, "Yeah, usual bag off, yeah," and it curtain over
like a barber. Yeah, usual. Yeah, Roger. It's weird though, isn't it? It's just such a strange place. You know what I mean? It's like that shouldn't be legal.
No, it is so weird, and like again, it's just like endlessly fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so strange.
Like what goes? Oh, also, right. Well, this is someone else, another individual we need to deconstruct. So we're watching this kind of like really, I don't know, like just from a pure kind of like naive, ignorant standpoint, just fascinated by it. But the bloke that was sat opposite us in the bar knew far too much about what went on behind those curtains. Didn't
he had a good idea, didn't he?
So we're intrigued by it from like we don't know what goes on. It's kind of like literally what goes on behind the curtain.
Yeah.
He's fascinated by it because he's clearly very into brasses. And he was almost envious watching it, wasn't he?
He was, but he also he had like a floor plan of what was going on.
He was wrecking the joint. He was like, "Yes, you go up the stairs there, and then there's like a bed on the
around
left.
the back. There's a little window, and then it's fucking. How many times have you been in there? You've actually cased the joint.
Yeah, he's actually cased the joint. He's like he was about to do fucking spec ops rated on it.
Yeah,
or something.
literally. Yeah, he's like doing a fucking room clearance.
You put a breach charge on that door there, and then there's a hostage on the left.
Literally, he had like thermal imaging cameras that no one else had, but it
was interesting perspective. I just feel sorry for him
and he also filmed it, which is
that's what. Yeah, that bloke who films the brasses because like he's pretending to send it to his mates in the group chat.
Yeah, he's saving it to his my eyes only or whatever.
He's saving that to your camera roll. You dirty pervert.
Yeah, it's horrendous, isn't it? I mean, they stood there.
Another intrusive thought there that I saw flash before your eyes.
Flogging their wares. Trying to make an honest living, and he's just disrespecting their privacy. Can't get on board with that.
No. Anything else we need to cover about?
I'm sure there's plenty. But
there is. I mean, you could do a entire episode on brasses.
Yeah, so again, you can't predict it. And the other thing is, I think you'd be surprised how many people do it, and how many people do it just off the beaten track, or because we were sat there in peak time, effectively, weren't we? We were sat there like. 7 or just like 7 to 10, I guess 7 to 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or we were in that area in that time, and that's like the busiest time. So if you want to do it under the radar, you probably wouldn't do it then. And so I think you'd be surprised at how, like, our fucking Uber driver who dropped us off was like really quite liberal about the fact that he shopped around Europe for the best price of brass.
Yes, that was funny. So when we got back to the UK, we got an Uber back to home when we got off the train. And the guy, we told the guy, he was like, "Yeah, we just got back from Amsterdam." He's like, "Oh, no way! Like, I just got back from there like 2 days ago or whatever." And it turns out his interpretation of Amsterdam is very different to ours. So all the things that we didn't do, he very much indulged in.
Yeah, well, you get a lot of people who go to Amsterdam
like that,
just for like to be let off the leash, basically.
Yeah, and this I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he had like little notes from his nippers in the front of his Uber and that, like daddy's little driver or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he's telling us about how he bags off brasses in Amsterdam.
That's good, isn't it?
That's horrible, really, isn't it?
There's a weird one though, man, because like there's a TikTok about like they interview like Asian women, like Chinese women or Japanese women or whatever, and they're like, "Would you consider your man going to a prostitute cheating?" And they're like, "No, it's fine. I'd rather do that than anything else." It's like there's a real culture thing here because we're really against and obviously think it's really weird because it's something that just doesn't happen here. But if you're probably normalised to it and there's a level of understanding that it's just a transaction, it could be, I don't know, it's really strange. It's all about perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we just think it's really weird and really base because it obviously doesn't happen here and it's illegal here.
Who are we to judge?
Exactly.
You are right though. It's very normalised in Japan, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever been to Japan. I don't know much about the culture, but I have heard in passing that it's very normalised over there.
Well, literally the only anecdote is that TikTok I've seen, but it's like every single one of like 4 or 5 wives of these blokes were saying, "Yeah, I'll be sound with him sleeping with a prostitute. I'd rather him do that than anything else." And then you can make sense of it because there's no emotional connection. If it's just a physical thing, then there's obviously no emotional thing. So you can make sense of their argument there.
It's mad, isn't it?
Do you know what I mean?
I want to know more about it.
It's very interesting. I was sat there like, kind of who rents the windows? What's the fucking business model? Is there a set price? You know, are they self-employed? Are they doing their own taxes behind the thing? Is there a fucking pimp there behind the curtain for like a protection? There must be, because there's no way there's no protection there for those girls.
For any listeners out there who do know more about it or happen to know someone who's written a book or, you know, just has done a TED talk on it,
I'm sure there is. Sure,
please put us in touch with it, because I would like to read more, and not in a perverted way either. Like, I'm genuinely
so interested. It's really fascinating, and I think the protection side of things is interesting, because the windows we were watching, there was like 4 or 5 drug dealers basically outside the windows. I wonder if they're connected.
Are they part of the system? Are they like the plankton that lives on like the whale's tongue, or like is it all?
Maybe, I don't know. But then again, they could just be giving people coke with a little bit of Viagra and they get a cut, and people are all of a sudden raging horny, and then they go and fucking go and get a brass.
You need some of that.
Yeah, well, you need some. Of that. I think we all know who needs some of that. Yeah. So
you need castrating. You mess.
I need the opposite.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I thought I practiced very good self-control this weekend.
You did?
Yeah. No drugs, no brassies.
No, we did basically get stoned through fucking osmosis though. Just through sitting in a coffee shop.
Having a fucking Guinness that we didn't know was a coffee shop.
Yeah, so that's good.
They probably weren't stoned, but it wasn't helpful. It was fucking horrendous, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
that brings us on to our next point, actually, doesn't it?
It'll pause there for a sec. So we obviously still need to cover the other obvious in Amsterdam, which is marijuana. But I am desperate for a piss.
Pause.
So we'll break this into a two-parter.
Well, what do you mean a 2-part?
We'll stop now because I need a piss.
Oh, right, yeah, we're edited together. I think we meant two actual separate podcasts.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's all you're getting for this week.
Yeah, so that'd be random. Okay, cool. So we'll come back after the break. And we're back.
Yeah, I've had a wee now, so I can actually concentrate on gobbing off and not thinking, am I going to wee myself?
Yeah, you should have just left it. Add a layer of jeopardy to the podcast.
Is it someone left a tap running? Oh, no, I've pissed myself.
No, I've pissed myself.
Yeah.
No, I have pissed myself. Yeah, so we're going to get on to the second obvious of Amsterdam now.
Yeah, this is the one fundamentally that I can't get on board with.
I mean, you mean aside from the prostitution?
Well, I need to know more about prostitution, because if they are self-employed, you know, because I'm such a raging feminist, then I'm all for it.
This is what I don't get.
Right, so we're still talking about prostitution, you know that.
It's just interesting. This is what I don't get.
It wasn't me, officer. It's just interesting.
So, obviously the advent of OnlyFans now. They could those birds who look like that could quite easily make 6 figures just fucking posting with no physical danger to themselves. They could just post stuff and make a living basically. Why put yourself in harm's way effectively? Because that's what you're doing. Like every time some bloke comes into that window, he could do fucking anything.
Yeah, because we know certain individuals
We do.
within the OnlyFans community, and they make bank.
And it's very lucrative if
Yeah,
you look a certain way.
They make bank for doing fuck all.
Yeah, you don't have to get railed.
No offence if you're listening, but you do.
Yeah, you do.
And like you said, they're not putting themselves in harm's way, really.
Not at all, really. Like, sat in your grot, thumb in your bum.
Make of that what you will. Which does beg the question, are these poor women in the red light district then therefore trafficked?
It does beg that question.
Because like you said, if there was easy money for them to be made online, why are they doing why are they still doing analog sex?
Yeah, well, I don't know. And this is my final pondering of the red light district. But anyway,
So let's move on to the second obvious.
Again, if you've got any daylight you can shed on that, then that'd be great. Second obvious.
Where do we stand on weed and the persona of the stereotypical weed smoker?
I think you can probably guess.
Yeah.
From our general kind of disposition.
If you know anything about us and you listen to this podcast regularly, there's no prizes for guessing where we stand on the consumption of copious amounts of marijuana.
Ultimately, right, it's a rap and drug.
I was just about to say, I'm getting the word rap and.
And if you don't know what that means, you haven't listened to enough of these episodes. But basically, you've just given up on life. So it just makes you lazy.
Yeah.
And people will always cite the musician who fucking, painted the Sistine Chapel, metaphorically, with under the influence of marijuana. That is a white swan event.
Yeah.
Most people are sat in a coffee shop, sapping. Sat there like that, just glazed over.
We learnt this the hard way, didn't we, this weekend?
Yeah.
Because we encountered a lot of these rap hands.
Well, we sat right next to one for a good amount of time.
And it's weird to watch these people. And not weird in an interesting way like it is to observe like the dynamics of silicone implanted women in the red light district.
That comes with its own pleasure.
It's intriguing in like a worrying kind of how do these people operate when they're not stoned, because they look like shells of a human.
Yeah, it's really strange because I think if you can control it and maybe harness it, then as in if if you're someone who struggles to switch off and then potentially that is how you kind of relax and relieve some stress, that's fine. But if you always need that, like if you that becomes a crutch for you to switch off, then it's not okay, because it means you're gonna kind of get addicted to it effectively. Yeah, because it's not addictive.
And just to fully debunk the one argument that stoners latch onto, the one that you just referenced, but most of the Beatles' music was written on
Bob Marley or whatever.
The fundamental issue there is you're not a generational songwriter, are you? You're a rap band from Luton.
Yeah, and you're using that as an excuse.
Yeah, and fundamentally you're comparing yourself to Paul McCartney, which is wrong on so many levels in itself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's exactly true. Yeah, it's like saying, I could be the same level as Cristiano Ronaldo if I just ate the same as him.
Yeah,
but it's not that, is it?
Basically, and fundamentally, if you did it the same as Cristiano Ronaldo, that would be more productive. I could get on board with that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it would just be shredded. So let's just deconstruct a bit of what it does as a drug, right? So it pretty much delays all cognitive functions. So you kind of get glazed over. It doesn't really push you into any action. So your action threshold is actually diminished and decreased. And then what it does as a kind of, I guess, a fallout of the drug is it gives you the munchies, which then makes you consume excess calories on the back of exercise you haven't done.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So if you think about it, it's kind of the antithesis of what we're about. So we're all for productivity, eating well, and moving your body.
Yeah, so if you've got a little trifecta of kind of this Venn diagram here that you need to hit for our approval, weed is so far...
It's not the way to go about it if you're after Eddie Rex's approval, and a lot of people out there are.
Yeah, a lot of you are, and now you know how not to get it. You can sort of reverse engineer that and figure out how to get it. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know, again, if you're once in a while, and again, like someone... extremely close to my family. He's a regular consumer, but it can be not all bad. And the thing is, as kind of a bit of research for the podcast, we looked at crime rates in Amsterdam and crime rates in Birmingham, and this is quite interesting. So in a place where some drugs are legal, prostitution is legal, all the rest of it, it's like, so it's, I think it's per kind of 100 people, or out of 100 anyway, the sort of stat is, it's 28 out of 100 for Amsterdam, it's 70 out of 100 for England, which is like over double the crime rates in Birmingham, in somewhere where we've got kind of strictish drug laws and strict kind of prostitution laws or whatever. In a place that's a lot more liberal in that regard, you've got a lot less in terms of crime rate, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Because if you asked a conservative, and I don't mean conservatives in kind of the political leaning, but someone who's like traditionally has conservative values, probably kind of like staunchly Christian, they would probably defend the British law system as kind of upholding a lot of kind of like being morally superior, effectively. If you asked them about Amsterdam, they'd say it was kind of a bit seedy.
Yeah, exactly.
And a bit liberal. So like, they would probably, if they didn't know the statistics, make the argument that Britain was much safer. If you actually dig into the data, you're more at risk about 10 miles away from where we live than supposedly like the sex and drug capital of the world.
Which is very, very interesting. And this is kind of well known if you actually read into the data and be objective rather than just holding on to random values that you inherited from your mother. But like,
yeah, you believe in a book.
Yeah, exactly.
That so preaches the benefits of a man who didn't exist.
So that's a good place to start, really, for your value system, isn't it? But obviously, you've got Lisbon, who pretty much decriminalised all drugs and drug crime and drug-related crime, went through the floor, and he's now one of the safest cities, and it's a pretty awesome city from what I've heard. Haven't been. Have you been to Lisbon? No.
Called off there for a day on a cruise in year 8, so I wouldn't quite say that I've visited that city.
Yeah, probably not then. So you've got that, for example, and then, like you said, the sex and drug capital of the world where we've just been, which feels ultra safe. And the reason I checked these statistics because I was walking around, looking around, thinking, I don't feel at risk at all here. Bear in mind, there's pimps on every corner. There's drug dealers asking if you want coke every fucking 5 minutes.
At no point did I ever feel
intimidated?
I was intimidated or in danger in Amsterdam, and I am hard, and I appreciate that.
Right.
But still, like I felt safe. I mean, I know I am safe because I can handle myself.
You're safe because you're with me, but other than that, I mean, if you're on your own walking home, I mean, you probably would kind of run, I guess, because you don't know.
Maybe that's just why we feel safe, because people.
Maybe, yeah, you're right. I mean, I do feel safe walking around Birmingham as well. So maybe that's just us.
I think it's just us.
No, but the biggest stat was like the kind of safety walking home at night and in the day, and both of those were again doubled. Like in terms of safe, you're twice as safe in Amsterdam than you are in Birmingham, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because again, you would just think, but I think the drug that is legal being marijuana, as much as we've slammed it, does just fucking anaesthetize people a little bit, isn't it? Like I say, your action threshold is through the floor. So if you're someone who has criminal tendencies, you're probably not going to be actioning them if you're high.
So this is what we touched on this off air earlier. Is it as simple as, you know, everyone's always... Well, I was quite taken aback by how friendly and amenable people are in the Netherlands. But then again, like we were saying, people in the Netherlands know at any point, if they fancy it, they can just decompress and have a piff.
Or a bag off.
I didn't want to say it, but you did, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah, well, I've got to be honest.
At the back of them, so if you get threaders, right, because you're rats, I obviously can't relate to this myself, but
right.
Say hypothetically, if you're rats and you've not got any 10s in your DMs, again, which I can't relate.
Yeah, you can't relate to that yet. Yeah.
But say if that was the case,
it sounds terrible.
If you live in Amsterdam, at the back of your mind, you always know that legally you can just go and bag off a 10.
You're about €50 away from changing up that situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I get that. I do think there's a massive issue with that, though, in terms of just it being a cop-out. And so, obviously, you can find... So, it's the pleasure-happiness thing, isn't it? So, pleasure versus happiness. Obviously, happiness is the long-term state, and pleasure is just little acts of kind of dopamine that get you going. So, like, seeing a prostitute would obviously be pleasure, and that would push down the road further and further and further your ability to go and find a mate and settle down or whatever, which would eventually be happiness, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Potentially.
Well,
It depends. It depends how much value you put into monogamy, I guess.
Yeah, we had this conversation pissed, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's quite interesting our different takes on it. I wonder why that is. Well, no, it's not. I think reportedly most people would be after a committed relationship. That's fulfilling for the majority of people.
Potentially. But I think it does help knowing that people have like an outlet, be it through kind of like recreational drug use or kind of consensual bagging off.
Yeah, true. I think you're right. But again, I would always think, like I do with everything, and this is a good way to kind of figure out whether your decisions are kind of right or wrong, basically. If you can project yourself into the future and think, would you be happier or not having indulged in a certain activity? If you go and see a brass, are you going to be, is that a net positive? Because as we know, you get post-nut clarity, right? Because up to that point, it's probably going to feel like a great idea. As soon as that happens and you fall off the edge of dopamine, you're probably not feeling good about yourself. This is my argument. I think it's
That's
probably
still
not
coming
great.
from the perspective of like the overarching objective is to find like a life partner, though, isn't it?
Not necessarily. It's just that's just objectively thinking about the actual interaction I'm talking about.
Why would it be if your sole objective was just to bag off? Why would that be a bad thing?
Because you need intimacy. It's not intimacy. It's just transaction. She doesn't want to be there, and you know that in the back of your head.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But if you just want to bag off, that's great.
But
intimacy
it is
intimacy leads into like the connection thing and having a partner, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's a precursor to it.
I think that is important.
That's what I mean, though. So like you're seeing it through your lens. Still, you've got to detach yourself from that and see it as some people do see it as transactional. And they do just want a sexual transaction.
I would call that dysfunction.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. That's you again.
I know. I can only speak from my own my own values, and my own viewpoints, and my own experience.
I sit less in that camp, and I can see how some people would just want it as a transaction.
I speak from my own experience. So when I've bagged off birds before with no prior connection and nothing in common or whatever it is, and it's just that kind of hedonistic chase of that end goal, effectively, which is bagging them off. Once you finish, you feel pretty empty and shallow inside. That's fine. On the other side of that, when you actually have a connection with someone and you built whatever rapport and all that kind of stuff, and then the obvious happens, then you don't feel so you actually feel better. You feel like a closer connection with that person.
Yeah, no, I know that is the case, but not everyone wants it, is what I'm saying.
But if that is the case, then everyone should want that.
For whatever their circumstance. Yeah, but it just doesn't work like that for everyone, does it? Because people have like traumas and shit. People have complex lives. Not everyone's after like sunshine and rainbows, are they?
No, but the closer you can move yourself to that, the fucking better you'll be, surely, or the better off you'll be.
Yeah, it's not that simple, though, is it?
Well, obviously not. But en masse, I would say that's probably the idea. Not every I'm talking about the majority of people, not like.
I'll be honest. I think monogamy is overrated. I think that's going to become increasingly normalised the further into the future we go. Well, the statistics would suggest that.
I don't think that.
Your spiritual king, Chris Williamson's got some very concerning statistics around single men.
Yeah, exactly. So if you single
saying
men are
monogamy is becoming less common, and it will continue.
Yeah, less
to
common,
be,
but he also has statistics on those single men not being as happy or as fulfilled.
Well, I'm not saying they're being happy or fulfilled. I just think it'll be more commonplace.
Yeah, whether it's commonplace or not is probably separate to whether it's productive or not. Is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but people don't think rationally, lad.
I know.
You can't compartmentalise everything into whether it's productive or not, because if being productive was at the forefront of everyone's mind, they'd try and optimise their lives to be productive, and they don't, because
the more you
do they're underslept, they're dehydrated.
But as we both know, the more you do try and live your life for your kind of mental and physical well-being, the better your lived experiences.
People won't know because they're rap hands.
Well, that's a pretty blinkered view of the world, I would say.
It's true though, isn't it?
Not necessarily. Most of the time, you give someone the right tools and resources, then they'll think about things differently.
Well, that was the thing, though. That's the great paradox of the internet, isn't it? Like, all the information is out there, and people are still doing nothing about it.
No, it depends what you consume. Your kind of, I feel like your mental diet or your social media diet is fucking as important as anything else. What you take in, what I take in on social media, and what other people take in is vastly different. What I take in is controlled for my fucking mental well-being, and that is how you should all think about it. But I don't think people do, because your feed can quickly just become whatever you fucking want it, whatever you meditate on a little bit too long or whatever. If that's negative, then it feeds you negative, and you're going to be negative.
But algorithms are wired to feed people with negative content.
So you've got to be smart about it, and you've got to think about. You can't just be passively consuming. That's terrible.
But we've covered this so many times. People don't think critically, and they're not gonna.
That's a cop out, though, isn't it? You should think critically.
Yeah, but they don't, and they're not suddenly gonna consciously decide to start thinking critically. A lot of people don't even know what critical thinking is because they're so out of tune with it.
Well, sometimes a lot of people think. Well, a lot of people are, like we've said, living on autopilot, and so sometimes it just takes you reframing something, or you kind of thinking about something in a slightly different way, or hearing a perspective, and you think, actually, fucking hell, I didn't think about social media like that. I'm thinking I'm just using it as a escapism for my shit job. And if it's that, then you can just quickly become, I'm just going to scroll for whatever, and not think about actually what you're watching. I think that is a mega important part of how you view the world, because we always say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. That's true. But more and more people now aren't hanging around with 5 different people. They're probably hanging around with 2 different people, and the rest of their fucking intake is all digital. And so if you don't control the digital, you're just going to be socialised by some shit, and then you're going to be, because as a result of that, you're going to be jaded and bitter. And that's not productive for you or for anyone else.
Yeah. Fortunately, you're not going to change my opinion on this, because I ultimately, if you
that's very closed-minded.
If you're going to deconstruct all my perspectives in life, right, and you're going to distill them down to kind of one overarching narrative, it's that all of humanity is doomed, and that humans are stupid and they can't help themselves.
That's a fantastic way to view the world.
It is.
It's really. It's not.
I can't wait to be proved right.
But it's not about.
And
being proved right. That sounds bitter.
As I melt into the glazing,
fantastic.
As I melt into the surface of the earth after Armageddon, because we haven't.
And you've lived the depressed life for 8 years. That's fantastic.
I'll go to my grave with a big smile on my face as I watch the rest of society crumble around my eyes.
That sounds good to me. I mean, you can't say that the viewing the world through the lens of everyone's doomed is a good way to view the world through.
But as you like to remind everyone, it's all about perspective. I find it quite liberating.
Yeah, I guess so. It is
because nothing matters.
It's all disposition. It is true. Nothing matters. But that doesn't mean you want to live the next, because your individual next 10 years does matter, because it means that's how you wake up every morning. So that matters.
Yeah. So
what matters is what you attach value to.
Yeah. So if everyone's fucked and everyone's stupid, and humanity's ultimately never going to fully kind of grapple with the overarching crisis that looms in front of its eyes, you might as well just crack on with stuff you enjoy. That's my perspective.
The thing is, we come at it from a different angle. I think we do arrive at the same point.
Yeah, we do. But I just have no faith in the people around me, and you do.
I have massive faith in humans, because they've got us to where we are today. It's not my doing that we can sit here with a microphone and stream to fucking millions of people. Potentially millions of people, hundreds of people.
This is a good segment back into the actual topic of the podcast, right? So we were walking around the Dutch National Gallery and Museum yesterday. I think it's called the Reich Museum.
It is, yes.
The Reich.
Correct.
I can't pronounce it.
Museum.
Yeah, I didn't want to say Reich because that sounded a bit Nazi-esque.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were looking at how sophisticated previous societies have been up to the modern age, and how kind of cultured and
technologically
advanced they were, compared to how much credit we give them. I think we're regressing.
It depends how you look at it, doesn't it? We probably from certain, from like certain standpoints, we 100% are, but from other standpoints, we're like miles ahead of where we were. We haven't got like famine going through the fucking world. Well, we have, but not in as many places.
But
or illness, or
but like all of our progress now, realistically, is coming through machines and AI, isn't it? The actual humans themselves have skill faded massively. So if you took top trumps, right, and you took like Roman man or like Egyptian man, and then like modern 2023 sack man, like our scores aren't
terrible.
competing with that, are they?
No, because
so we've now
that's
put
a function of
so do we now have
necessity, though, isn't it?
do we now have an over reliance in technology? Do you not think?
Yeah, but we can do that because we have technology.
But that's what I mean. But then if you suddenly remove technology, which you could do like that, like if the internet went down tomorrow, we'd be fucked.
Yeah, we would. It's not a good thing, but but it is just how we live our lives. And I think it's just a function of necessity again, isn't it? It's like they needed to be that capable because every day they were fighting and hunting and doing all the rest of it, and so they needed to be able to do that and to feed their kids. Now what we need to be able to do to feed our kids is vastly different. We now need to be able to be like a soldier on the cerebral battlefield, and we need to be able to think our way through things, which I mean, or think how to work technology or whatever, which is fucking a lot of people. So Jordan Peterson does a stat on it, like there's a certain IQ you need to be able to operate an iPhone. If you can't do that, you're fucked. Like if you can't operate an iPhone, you can't operate Excel. You're not going to be able to do anything really nowadays. Which is mad.
But again, this is awesome. But then we're just putting too much value and faith into the technology that we're reliant upon, aren't we?
Yeah, we do attach huge value to it. Look at what we do for a living.
That's what I mean. That's what I said. If the internet went down tomorrow, we'd be fucked.
Yeah, we would. I deep this quite a lot. That if Instagram is pretty much how I make most of my sales, and so if that was gone, I'd have to find another way to do that. But currently, I don't. So you only have a finite amount of energy and resource. So if I spent all my time thinking about how I can diversify my fucking sales funnel, so I don't use Instagram, I wouldn't have any time for anything else. So you only have time to deal with what you can deal with, and that's just how things work. And I think you deal with what's in front of you as a human. That's what the Romans did, and that's what Egyptian man did. Because what was in front of them was very different to what's in front of us.
Renaissance man. All I'm saying is they don't make them like Leonardo da Vinci anymore.
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Because there are still geniuses. We remember like the fucking people who are at the top of society, don't we? We don't remember like Joe Bloggs, who just basically got smited by the Spartans. We don't, do we? We remember Leonidas because he was fucking hoofing.
Yeah, our geniuses aren't as good though, are they?
Well, they're good at what they need to be good at. Jimmy Carr's extremely good at making you laugh.
Don't ever compare Jimmy Carr to Leonardo da Vinci again. I'm a massive fan of Jimmy Carr, but that's one of the worst opinions that's ever left your mouth.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you're a genius in what you need to be a kind of, or what society values at that time, aren't you? Society values at the moment entertainment, because we're in such a privileged position that we can value entertainment. Before, we couldn't really.
Yeah, but
because we focus on surviving.
What I'm saying, in thousands of years' time, when people say who was a genius in 2023, people aren't going to say Jimmy Carr, are they? And
it was just a name that sprung to mind. Who would you say is a genius of our time?
Well, I don't think he's a genius, but I would say people would make the argument for like Elon Musk, wouldn't they? At the moment, I'd probably say Steve Jobs, but he's obviously not with us anymore. So
yeah, Elon Musk probably would be, but he's just innovative, extremely innovative, and probably gonna kind of shape the way. Well, definitely gonna shape the way that like we use fuel.
What's come of this AI conference that's been going on at the moment? Do you know?
I've no idea. I haven't followed it.
No, neither have I.
Probably
should have done really. Actually, no, because I didn't realise we were going to talk about fucking AI this episode. So
no, we've gone on a little tangent. It's good.
Yeah,
I like a tangent.
I tried to. Do you notice, for all the listeners at home, you can clock this. I did try and bring it back to the podcast, but then you immediately diverted us again.
Yeah, I think we like interesting conversations. You don't have to just talk about Amsterdam. You're very. No,
but I want to talk about Amsterdam because it's funny.
Yeah.
You like these existential. See, like off air, we basically do the same thing. So I get a lot of airtime of Harry's existential conversations.
Yeah.
So I try and shepherd you into entertaining.
Yeah, we do both.
On the podcast.
We balance it. You've got to balance it, lad. People have got to take both value and entertainment.
I'm here to entertain, mate. I'm a comedian.
You're not there.
I'm a hero I'm a
A
comedian.
hero, a comedian, a brass.
I'm here effectively to provide delusion to the listeners.
Yeah, you do quite a good.
And
got quite a good job at that.
Your existential conversations are stifling my delusion.
Right. Well, I think people take a lot from it. So.
Okay. Right. So let's talk about weed again because that's funny.
Right. Wait. Shit.
Let's deconstruct the stoner and how, ironically, they're in one of the most culturally rich cities on earth and have chosen to go there to smoke weed like they do at home anyway.
Well, sit in a bulldog cafe staring at their mates inside.
Yeah. Realistically,
They would argue that that's like the culture, though, isn't it? Because they can't do that in public here.
That's bollocks. To be fair, I can get on board with like taking psychedelics and then kind of going and seeking out art and stuff because that would probably enhance it. That would enhance your experience. If you're just gonna get stoned and rap in a cafe, I can't get on board with that.
No, because like you say, you can do that in your front room.
Yeah,
can't you? Here, you might get.
If you combine the two, that's great. Because I like looking at that art yesterday. Like don't know the first thing about art, and I wouldn't claim to either. But even I could appreciate what we were looking at.
Yeah, so if you were like, seeing like a unicorn pop up somewhere or something, I don't know what you'd see, but if you were on psychedelics, then it might be a bit more interesting.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, I think.
But this is what you were talking about, like action threshold again, because you are stoned, even though there is this wealth of culture on your doorstep. You now don't want to see it because you're stoned and you've rapped.
Yeah, and you're just enjoying the feeling, man. But I mean, you could get that feeling anywhere, couldn't you? Maybe you don't get a stronger weed. I don't know the fucking ins and outs, mate.
Well, they're obviously like, so I'm guessing like weed in the UK, because it's kind of like criminalised and is operated largely by organised crime, is shit.
That's probably what it is. So you get
like it's grown
like a purer.
Yeah, it's grown in massive industrial units. It's probably cut down with stuff to make it more profitable. Whereas the pure haze man available in Amsterdam is probably good shit, as they would say.
Good shit, dude. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know.
I guess it's the equivalent of us training at JD Gym in Brierley Hill day to day. But then when we go...
Well, they probably say the same. They probably say, why the fuck are you going spending 2 hours in a gym in Amsterdam? That's probably exactly the same kind of argument. We would say, because we enjoy it. And they would probably say the same.
Yeah, and then our only real argument from that is that we're being more productive, but then...
As you've just said, human has his doom.
Yeah, so I mean, they've got a point, in fairness. Maybe they should just rap.
They should just rap and fuck it. This is why I find your perspective so dangerous, because you could easily just rap from.
Well, that's kind of like, I think I'm the only person that's taken my perspective and then seen it in a positive light.
Yeah, well, if you can do that, then fantastic.
Everyone else appears to have just rapped.
Yeah, smoke weed about and just like sap about how everything's doomed. Doesn't really get you anywhere, that is it?
No.
That's good. Anyway, weed, overrated, underrated. That's wrong.
This is going to be a hard listen back. This podcast, fucking hell.
The wrong segment. No, well, it's overrated in my opinion.
It's an ad hoc underrated overrated.
Well, it wasn't underrated overrated, wasn't it? I mean, again, brasses. I don't know yet.
Massively underrated.
There's
a reason it's the world's civilization's most enduring profession. There's obviously something in it.
It's got some good retention, obviously.
Yeah.
I like that. Anyway, what else does Amsterdam have to offer? It's an awesome city.
We ate some sensational food.
Yeah, the food's fucking amazing.
I think, if anything, this weekend we busted the myth that you either have to be into brasses or be a stoner to go to Amsterdam.
Or to enjoy Amsterdam.
I know that a lot of people are probably already aware of that, but I think with our generation particularly, we just associate it with those two things.
Well, our age, if you were to go with the lads and not do either of those things, you would be termed like that. That would be weird, because you could go anywhere and do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas you can't really go anywhere and have those two things legal at the same time. Maybe... Maybe a different combination would be interesting as well, like psychedelics and brasses.
Well, we said, I wonder what it would be like to do high rocks on truffles. That would be a daunting experience, wouldn't it?
Well, the war ball would be fucking.
But like, so obviously, cognitively, you'd be fucked. You wouldn't really know what was going on. But running laps of that circuit with people staring at you while you were high would be a horrible experience, I imagine.
That would be terrifying.
That's like bad trip territory, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd probably just like curl up in a ball or something, wouldn't you?
Because you probably wouldn't see real faces either.
No, definitely not. And the music and all the bass and everything would be, it'd be weird, yeah. Anyway,
But what I could get on board with, by the way, is if we brought all the brasses to the centre for High Rocks, and instead of like Gen Pop cheering you on,
you have them instead.
there's just them, just like barely clothed.
Right.
I could get them behind that. We would have got sub 1 hour if that was the case.
You want to keep running around for as long as possible. You've done 20 laps, yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I lost count. But I think Amsterdam has so much more to offer, though, doesn't it? We were walking around on that second day, and we did consider psychedelics, didn't we? But we didn't get around to it.
We were sat eating breakfast, trying to
figure out
what we were actually going to do on a Sunday, and because we fucking so shit at organising, we left it all to the last minute. Our hands were tied, but like there was so many things we could have done. Like at one point we were going to go and watch Ajax play.
Yeah.
The next minute we were going to go and watch Noel Gallagher. Then we were going to go to fucking check out Anne Frank's pit.
Yeah, well, we couldn't do any of that.
We couldn't do any of that. Couldn't do any of that because we hadn't booked it in advance.
Yeah, I guess the thing is, it's capital cities. So there's always going to be something to do. It's like if you're stuck in London, like you're in London, central London for like the morning, you'd find fucking loads of shit to do.
Yeah, it has all the perks of being a capital city, but because it's so kind of quaint and chilled out, it doesn't have the same kind of energy sapping nature of the capital.
Well, it's great because it's not very busy, so it's quite quiet. It's clean, and like we said earlier, it's mega safe. So like you say, as capital cities you go, you don't really get that balance, do you?
No, it's like the best of both worlds.
Because it's quite, like you say, you can do loads of shit. You can always do something, but also it's clean, safe, and fucking and pretty quiet. So it's a bit strange. It's quite a balance between the two. If you go to like London, there'd always be something to do, but you don't always feel safe. It's massively busy. I wouldn't say it's that clean.
No. Go to London, guarantee you'll either be
mugged or
not appreciated.
Yeah, another Partridge reference there. Someone appreciated the last one, so
did they? There are people out there that watch Partridge. They're just few and far between, unfortunately.
They're not quite as enlightened as us. Yeah. So what wasn't it? I guess the next bit was just us wandering around Amsterdam. I guess wasn't it?
That's kind of it, really. I think we've covered the main themes, really.
The main attractions.
Yeah.
Quite deeply. Might have to do a separate episode on prostitution. That'd be a good one.
Be interesting. We'll have
to
get
Prosy on.
Yeah, or someone on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Who we may or may not know.
Yeah. another intrusive thought.
Got to laugh when you fall off a sofa.
Yeah. So underrated, overrated, I guess.
Yeah. So is yours Amsterdam theme?
No.
Right. That's good.
Well, it is kind of loosely related, but I'll let you go first.
It's either underrated,
You've charmed me.
or it's overrated.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
Right, okay. Underrated, overrated, Guinness.
I think it's context specific.
Go on.
Because one Guinness, after like in Dublin or after like a hard, so after that stretcher race or after High Rocks, one Guinness is really good. Once you get past that one Guinness threshold, then it's overrated. So session on Guinness is rats.
I agree. I think that what I'm trying to get at here is people are too blindly loyal to Guinness.
Yeah, well, it's like a 3-course meal in a drink. So if you have like 3 of them, you're fucked, mate.
So like, don't get me wrong, one Guinness is nice and refreshing, but any more than that, it loses its appeal.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really have a taste. Does it?
But honestly, if you never have Guinness before and you heard someone who likes Guinness go on about Guinness, who's made it their entire personality, you'd think it was fucking holy water.
Yeah. You would think it was something actually nice, like Coca-Cola or something.
Yeah.
But alcohol's shit in it.
Yeah.
Alcohol's fucking shit. Because when you say something's nice, it's not, is it? It's nice for alcohol.
It's completely
when you say
relative.
Beer is not. Oh, that's a nice beer. It's not, is it? Because it's not Fanta or like orange juice or something.
That's what I mean. So like, a spiced rum and Coke is nice for alcohol, but it doesn't taste as nice as just a Coke.
It's mad, isn't it, that?
And it's the same with like a pink gin and lemonade.
Yeah.
I'd rather just have a lemonade.
Yeah, exactly. Or like a fucking blackcurrant juice or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'd genuinely rather have, or like a pint of milk. It's mental. You're like, oh, that's really nice, but it's not. It's just fucking. It's again expectations, isn't it? You expect it to be shit. So the fact it's not that shit is pretty good.
But there's a trend now for like kind of like hipster people that live in like the East End of London who wear beanies and Carhartt.
You know the type. Yeah,
Yeah,
they've got curtains.
They've got curtains. Yeah. They've got eyebrows. Yeah, those kind of people now make it their kind of modus operandi in life to espouse the benefits of Guinness. You'd think they're on the payroll.
Yeah, you think they get commission with every pint you drink.
And then, because this is always on my TikTok and I'm aware of it and constantly being reminded of it, I almost talk myself into thinking that Guinness is good.
Yeah, the power of the algorithm.
And then comes the moment, like at the weekend, when I actually have more than one Guinness and I'm reminded that it is just another drink.
Yeah, another alcoholic drink. There's ultimately not as good as non-alcoholic drinks.
Don't get me wrong. So, like we've said, one Guinness is good. It's not bad. But I'm saying, relatively to where people put it on this pedestal, it is a bit overrated.
Yeah, and if you sesh on it, it makes you feel heavy and shit, and it gets very old very fast.
Yeah, the people that are choosing to get pissed on Guinness, i.e., like seasoned drinkers who need like a good 12 pints to get them leathered, like that's not cost effective. B, certainly not the easiest way to get pissed because you're on board and a lot of fucking liquid there.
Oh, we spoke about this before, like that beer just being a bit heavy. For like, if you're gonna have more, basically, if you're gonna have more than 2 pints, you need to switch it up.
Yeah, I think we covered this on one of the interrailing pods. Yeah,
because we're heavily.
Because I was at that point threaders with beer.
Yeah, that was probably the third one because I've been pissed pretty much every day for 21 days. Yeah, I mean, Guinness. Again, concepts. I can't really call it underrated or overrated. It probably is overrated.
But this is the thing. So
it's all relative to public opinion.
If it's not overrated and it's not underrated, then it's rated. I don't think it is rated.
No, it is overrated.
It is overrated.
Yeah. I think it is overrated because, like you say, people espouse the benefits far beyond what they actually are.
Yeah, basically. So either Guinness have got a really kind of subtle fucking marketing network, affiliate program, like unless Guinness is the world's biggest pyramid scheme.
Yeah, well,
people are kidding themselves.
It could be. Yeah, you would think it is, wouldn't you? So, especially if you could go anywhere near an Irish bar or Ireland.
Yeah,
it's like a fucking religion, separate religion to the others.
But what I will say is the Irish are great at branding their culture, and Guinness is the best example of that.
That's very true. Like, where are the Welsh? There's no Welsh beer, is there?
No, we need to cover this on the podcast because I'm becoming acutely aware of it. But the Welsh need to take a leaf out of either the Scottish or the Irish's book and
put their ideas.
Learn to brand their nation better.
Yeah, because
they've got
a dragon isn't cutting it.
Yeah, because fundamentally they don't exist.
Well, yeah, it's true. That's very true.
So
they've got a lot going for them.
A lot, but basically something that doesn't exist in a lot of the heavy lifting for your national kind of identity. At least Guinness exists.
Yeah, I mean, while it is overrated, at least it exists. And the Loch Ness Monster, does that exist? Is that
no? That's good, isn't it?
I used to live there in fucking the Lochs.
Oh yeah, you did. You're adopted.
Never saw it.
What's the Scottish equivalent of Guinness? Cholesterol.
Yeah, just mainlining lard. I reckon.
Yeah. IV lard.
I don't know.
Square sausage.
Oh, is it? Yeah, I thought you meant alcohol. Whiskey.
They've got Tennant's Lager.
Oh,
that's Scotch. Yeah, so obviously they've got Scotch, but then the Irish have got you got Irish whiskey as well. Like a fundamentally Scottish drink. They adopted Buckfast, but it's actually English, isn't it, Bucky?
Yeah.
It's made by monks in Devon.
But Brits couldn't handle it because it's fucking mental.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so what is their drink then? It is Buckfast, it's shit. It's not. They've adopted it. It's shit Tennant's Lager, which is gopping.
That's probably why they adopted Buckfast.
Yeah,
because Tennant's Lager is gopping.
Well, that's that. That just goes to show that again, the Scottish can't survive without the English.
That's
don't want to make it political, but
you have. That's good.
You don't, you want independence, but then you want to keep drinking Buckfast. It's got to decide what you want, really, there, haven't you?
Yeah, the tariffs on Buckfast are going to go through the roof if you go independent. You'll think about this. That's like half your weekly shop.
We'll do a trade-off, right? We'll have all the North Sea oil, and you can have an unlimited supplies of Buckfast.
They'll probably just use it as oil.
It's definitely flammable, in fairness.
Yeah.
Let's power. There you go. I've solved climate change. Let's power cars with Buckfast.
You can power vast amounts of people with Buckfast.
So, one bottle of that, I'm good to go for days.
Yeah, without any food, I'm sound. like caffeinated beer is wine. Or
It's-
caffeinated alcohol is mental.
Speaking from experience, it's dangerous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is very. It makes you do dangerous things.
We need to probably get back on that session.
Yeah, I haven't had it for ages. The next session, I think that's what I've been missing actually. Because at one point I got to a point where I was used to drinking Buckfast, as in like I'd always drink it when I went out. So I think ever since I've kind of just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah,
Because
you need an uptick, don't you?
Yeah. Because I think I've got quite a down personality anyway. So obviously alcohol's a depressant. It doesn't work in my favour. But then if I have the caffeine alongside it,
It levels you out.
it levels me out.
There we go. Solved it. Create a bookie on its way. Yeah, so I think overrated, all in all.
Yeah.
Guinness.
Guinness is overrated. Right.
Yeah, so mine, again, is loosely related for us, not for the listeners. Underrated, overrated, only because I wanted to talk about it. Johnny English.
Johnny English, he's great.
Fabulous, mate. I hadn't watched it for ages. And the new one's out in there.
Yeah, I think obviously Rowan Atkinson is a genius, and if you don't agree, then you're fundamentally wrong. But I think, unfortunately, I mean, it's still great, but Mr. Bean steals a lot of the headlines in regards to Rowan Atkinson.
True. That is, I mean, that's a work of genius as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I'm not taking anything away from Mr. Bean, but I think it overshadows Johnny English wrongly sometimes.
It's such a good parody on like spy theme. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great parody of like the Bond films.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, isn't
And
it?
it's like it's that perfect balance of like, because Mr. Bean is all slapstick, like non-verbal comedy, but then Rowan Atkinson's other stuff in like Blackadder is kind of more verbal. So like Johnny English is the perfect blend of slapstick and verbal.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It's very true. So the connection to Amsterdam, by the way, is just the fact that we watched it in our Airbnb grot. But it's such easy watching. And the new so there's 3 now, isn't there?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's mental.
So I grew up on the original. I could pretty much like go through it word for word if I watched it. I think I've only seen the second one once, and this was the first time I'd watched the third one.
Yeah, and we were in stitches, and I was expecting like a third kind of, because it's so old as well. I was expecting them to have lost their thread a bit. Do you know what I mean?
So good.
And it was class. But yeah, so I think underrated because no one really gives it enough credit.
In fact,
As a trilogy.
the first Johnny English is quite old now, so we might have some listeners / viewers who've never seen Johnny English.
Yeah, well, I encourage you to go from the top.
Yeah, if you've never watched Johnny English, I implore you after this to go and watch it because you won't be disappointed.
Yeah, it's brilliant, especially if you're English because you'll get it more.
The genius of it is it's universal.
Mm.
That's why Mr. Bean is such a global brand, you know, because it is like completely slapstick, non-verbal. It transcends languages.
Yeah, that's genius, isn't it? Really?
So like Johnny English is you can still pretty much get the gist of it because it is still quite physical.
Yeah, it's true. But I guess it's a big take on James Bond.
If you understand the premise of like a spy film, you'll be able to follow the plot of Johnny English because it just plays with all the
classics,
the narrative devices and
So
kind of all the
good.
cliches, doesn't it?
So it does it so well as well. And obviously, like you say, Rowan Atkinson's a genius. So him playing that role is obviously unparalleled.
Yeah, it's
Superb. But yeah, anyway, we watched that and then proceeded to watch the other one and Mr. Bean in the same weekend. So that's good, isn't it?
The first Mr. Bean again is underrated because everyone's seen Mr. Bean's Holiday, but the first Bean movie's funny.
That is class, yeah, with the fucking gun scene. That's fucking great. I forgot about that. That's brilliant. When he takes it out. Anyway, we'll leave you to watch it if you haven't watched. If you haven't watched either of them, if you haven't watched Mr. Bean, then or the original, I reckon a lot of people haven't watched the original Mr. Bean.
What, the series or the film?
The film.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, the holiday one, everyone's watched that.
Yeah, especially people our age, because it came out in the cinema when we were kind of like, I don't know, like 10 or something. And it was like the big film of the summer, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
But I think the original Bean movie came out when we were little, so we were probably too young. So I only watched it when I was a bit older.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's so fucking good, mate. It's class.
No one on planet Earth, right, can do slapstick comedy better than Rowan Atkinson.
No. And he can also just do... He can do it all, can't he, really?
That's the genius of like Mr. Bean and Johnny English is you know exactly what's going to happen,
But it's still hilarious.
but when it happens, it's still like gut-wrenchingly funny.
Have you seen the... It's Rowan Atkinson. Does the like invisible drum kit?
What is this, one of his live shows or something?
It's so good, man.
Is it, Miss Gray? I don't know if it is. It sounds like something
I think
he'd do.
it is. It's fucking amazing. I have to show you. Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, so Johnny English and Mr. Bean, if you haven't watched them, go do it.
Go and watch them. Right, it's the final segment.
Reason to be cheerful.
Reasons to be cheerful.
We're starting a new gym,
Yes.
which again isn't really relevant to the listeners, but we can
Well, I don't know.
now we can spin it in a way. So like, I think the moral of the story here is sometimes it's good to switch things up,
Yeah, so we've been at JD Gym for fucking months now, haven't we, really?
and we've been dripping about it for ages.
So it's time for a change. And so this afternoon, we're going to go for a, effectively like a consult, isn't it? It's a gym called Black Country Barbell, their first little bit of PR that they're going to get a lot of.
Yeah, they're not paying us for, by the way.
That's good, yeah, we're paying them. And so it's like a powerlifting gym?
I think traditionally
kind of.
it's in.
I guess so.
Yeah, in theory it's a powerlifting gym, but it's basically just a better gym for what we're now moving into.
So we're both conveniently now after High Rocks moving into a strength block, so like an 8-week block of training that's purely strength based. Because now we don't have any fitness racing on the horizon.
Yeah, so now we're getting into kind of strength training more. Things like the quality of like barbells and plates starts to be growing importance.
Well, the heavier you get, like if you're getting up towards a 200 kg squat, the bar does make a difference.
Massive
if you're trying
difference.
to rip like 100 kilos off the floor and put it over your head, the quality of your bar makes a massive
because it's
difference.
small margins at that point.
Oh,
and like
100%.
while JD is a great gym
for its price,
for a lot
that's
of different
mental.
reasons, you can't beat it on price. But like for what we want now, it's little things like, is the knurling on the barbell good?
Yeah, and the environment. So like we've said before, JD Gym, because it's commercial and like they say the price to join is so low, people aren't training in there really. If you train properly in there, like you're kind of sweating or breathing heavy, you get looked at like you fucking freak.
Yeah, if you're digging out, people look at you like you're an idiot.
yeah,
when
even though
they're
that's exactly what the
When
gym's
they're
for.
actually the idiot because they're using that stupid fucking ab crunch machine.
So I'll be so happy when no one's using that, you know,
Well, there isn't one in Black Country Barbell, so that's good.
because it makes a noise as well.
Yeah.
So I instantly know someone's fucking.
You can hear it from the other. You know a helmet's in the gym because you can hear that machine from the other side of the gym.
Yeah, and if you don't know what we're talking about, it's like this one where you sit down and you crunch your abs against resistance.
Yeah, it mimics a sit-up, but it takes all of kind of the skill and effort out of the sit-up.
It's just a waste of fucking space in the gym because you can do sit-ups anyway.
Yeah.
Fundamentally.
You don't need to be in a gym to do sit-ups.
Yeah. you do
It's
them at home.
famously one of the exercises you can do at home.
Yeah, again, so ridiculous. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the new block of training because we've done a lot of that hybrid kind of, I guess not hybrid, but like high Roxy style stuff, circuit style stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad to see the back of fucking a
Concept 2
Concept 2 machine, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? So we have provisionally signed up to 2 high Roxys next year, so you'll have to get back on, I'm afraid.
Oh, yeah, well, I can enjoy this strength block, though. I can go back to my roots.
Yeah, I'll give you about 2 weeks before you get bored of that.
I have got to
You're useless with programs. I'm sorry. You're fucking useless.
I'm good at prescribing them. I'm shit
what-
at following them myself.
What's on your program today, Eddie? Oh well, it's like it'll be like front squats, but I'm gonna do something else. Right, that's good, isn't it? I'm bored. That's week 2.
Which goes back to my point. I am a genius and I do know best.
Right, and that's what we call a closed mind over there. Anyway, that probably wraps it up, doesn't it? We've fucking got.
We've waited on.
there.
We've fucking rabbited on for ages there, and I think collectively we've said about 3 vaguely profound things.
Yeah, I mean, you can be the judge of that in the comments if you are still listening, which I'd be surprised on this episode, to be honest. It's not our finest work, but if you are still listening, any takeaways that you've had from this episode would be very interesting.
And I'd love to hear them because I can't think of them myself.
Exactly, yeah. So if you could highlight them, that'd be fantastic. And they may be all brass related. You never know, because they were for me. Anyway, cool. Next episode, hopefully, will be another guest. But that remains to be seen because you've got to get the fucking your ducks in a row.
We're not going to make any promises at this moment in time, but if you have made it this far, you can, 60-40, get yourselves excited for a guest. But I'm not going to commit to it.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah, cool. All right, I'll see you next week, hopefully with a guest.
Goodbye.